Welcome back to Dr. Supercoach, and in this video I'll be discussing the upcoming captaincy decisions for the week approaching, coming right up. Hey, what's up? It's JB from Dr. Supercoach, and if this is your first appointment here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming updates, upcoming captains videos, of course. Now today's episode again is focused on our captains for the week coming. I will firstly, before we get into this, address last week and what was a disappointing pick of captains. Both Tim English and Jordan Dawson, who I endorsed for those who did own Jordan Dawson, flopped. I did recommend Rowan Marshall as a vice captain, 119. So if you did vice captain him, I would have recommended taking that one, which I did publicly recommend taking the 119. So if you did do that, you actually got a pretty good captaincy score for the week, as most of the popular options didn't do too well, except for one man who I just didn't think was still going to be doing the 150 pluses. It's been 2 weeks since the 145 against Bulldogs at Mars, which I thought was not an outlier, but if you look at it, he's had one other captaincy score since round 6. So I did overlook Laddie a little bit. I got to change my mindset a little bit. It's the contested guys who are doing really well against West Coast, the guys who are getting the ball at the coalface and shoveling it out, or Laddie kind of does a little bit of everything, but essentially Jordan Dawson's carry and delivery was a little bit. It kind of went unders for what it actually was. I think he had a better than a 95-point game, but the scaling and his ability to hit a target for a rare week was very, very, very against him. So 50 points separating us there. It is annoying to miss that one, but obviously we swiftly move on to this week. Now, I have not looked into this week at all. I do know there are two pretty good options that I'm probably going to highly recommend. We start with tonight's game. It's Port versus Geelong. Now, I don't think there's anyone captainable or vice captainable in this game. I know Tom Stewart is back. I have lent on him in the past, but at Adelaide Oval, Port are usually pretty good against halfbacks or floating halfbacks. So I'm going to say that they do okay against Geelong. They try and drag Stewart out. Look, he'll probably still ton up against us, but there's a chance that it's just a low 90 or a low ton. Mid to high 90 or low ton, I should say. So he's not going to be my vice captain. I don't think his ceiling is quite high enough. Now, Zach Butters and Connor Rozee, both of them are always a chance to do well in any given week. I actually don't know how the pair went this week. Wait, I just did forward. I meant to do Port. So 118, 108. Obviously, Zach Butters is the more informed player of the two. You just look at that 5-round average of 130. I don't know how he historically goes against Geelong, but I would argue, it's right there. I would argue that he does pretty good in the good games, in the tight games, and especially at Adelaide Oval. I don't hate Zach Butters, but I think I'm going to present to you two better opportunities for those who have him. We're going to go straight into the next game, and the first better opportunity starts right here, none other than Josh Dunkley. Now, look, it doesn't take a genius to tell you that Josh Dunkley is going to be the man to vice captain this week against Sydney. Their midfield has been very inconsistent this year, unfortunately, just unable to put consistent players out there on the park. Callum Mills still injured. Parker in and out of the squad in the last fortnight. It's just been a bit tricky for them. But the form of this man, 153, 146, 148 at all three different venues as well, which I think is very, very good signs. A fourth venue to the 140 plus club as well, having one at Marvel there too. So look, I just think he, at the moment in this form, he's figured it out with Brisbane, with Lachie Neale. He's the guy that's dominating the game. He's taking over. I think at absolute worst, we get a 120 from him and we take that. Best case scenario, he could be replicating this form right here. He does strike me as a kind of untaggable player. He gets his possessions through contested marking somehow, tackles, being the first player to get on the ball, but he doesn't usually spread and get a lot of ball from like the cheap uncontested marking type of game. He can get ball transition in and be that player that transitions, but I don't think he's exactly a taggable asset, and especially with Lachie Neale in the team, I think players or teams just focus on what he can do. We saw what he could do in a quarter when the Adelaide Crows dropped their tag on him. So I think he is definitely the easiest vice captain. 100% of coaches should be vice captaining Josh Dunkley. Errol Gulden, not really an option for me. Lachie Neale, just not better than Dunkley. So at the Gabba, prime time, Friday night, I expect a good vice captaincy score there. Then we go into GWS versus Fremantle. Believe it or not, I actually think Briggs had a pretty good score against Luke Jackson this week. Nankervis did a number on him last week. However, I don't think it's worth your vice captain or captaincy. I think we're coming to someone probably in the last game of the round that we're going to focus on for that. Look, Tom Green, Canelio, they're uncaptainable. 100% uncaptainable. The competition of competitive coaches, everyone owns Josh Dunkley, so I'm not even going to consider saying that people aren't vice captaining him or don't own him. If you don't, I guess I am going to mention other people for you, but essentially your options become a bit limited. So for GWS versus Fremantle, no one that I really like in that one. I think both midfielders probably do okay. GWS, I don't think they're a good enough midfield to sort of lock anyone down. So I think probably Sarong and Brayshaw do small tons, medium tons. One of them probably goes big, one of them probably goes medium to smaller ton. So if you don't have Josh Dunkley, then I understand doing a VC in this game with one of the Fremantle boys, probably one of your better matchups. In the next one, Richmond versus St Kilda. Look, Taranto is in unbelievable form, but I hate using a vice captain or captaincy against St Kilda. They're so defensive. They play a really disciplined style of footy. What I do like doing is captaining a midfielder against Richmond. However, St Kilda don't have any worth captaining. Jack Steele, not even in the conversation at the moment, despite having multiple 70-point halves. He has not been able to string a full game together this year, apart from the one against GWS, which did still come to a very good second half rather than an entire good game. So Sinclair, I think, could be an option here. I would be weighing up if I didn't have Josh Dunkley, a VC out of one of these two games, Sinclair, Brayshaw, or Sarong. I'd be okay with all of those guys. I firmly believe they're all going to get the ton, but nothing overly exciting in these games. You can see what we're coming up to, and you can probably predict who I'm going to suggest there. So Carlton versus Gold Coast, there's no one. Carlton had, I think, 1 ton for the entire game last week. Sam Walsh is not doing what we projected he would do. I think against Gold Coast he probably tons. So does Doherty if you own him, but it's not where I'm using one of my captaincy shouts. And then the Gold Coast Suns themselves, Matty Rowell has been in pretty good form. So is Noah Anderson, but this is a game at the MCG. I don't think those guys are really translating into big games at the MCG. One of them probably goes pretty well. One of them probably goes mediocre. I'm not using a captaincy on that whatsoever. Now finally, North Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. Goldstein typically quite restrictive as a ruckman, even though Briggsy got a hold of him last week. Briggs just might be the best ruckman in the competition, we're not sure yet. But Bontempelli I think is quite easy here. North Melbourne might try and do something with Liam Shields, but it would be futile. Bontempelli will go 120 plus in this game, I'm quite certain of it. At Marvel Stadium, I don't really know how else to build this up for you. If you have McRae, he's playing too far forward. I don't love that. Obviously, Tim English. I just spoke about Todd Goldstein. I think Bontempelli is quite an easy captain here if one of these options falls over and you have to rely on the captaincy. However, I don't even expect to get to the Sunday. I think there are at least 3 good options here. With Dunkley being the main one, into one of the guys who could go right here. If you do need a VC, these are the 3 games. However, the captain should firmly be on Bontempelli, who again is owned by 90% of the competition. Well, not 90, but he's owned by most of competitive coaches. If I can do a bit of clicking here. Let's say top 5% of coaches. Josh Dunkley owned by 99.8%, and where's Bontempelli? 95.5%. So I think it's quite straightforward. It's one of those guys into the other. If you are the 0.2% or the 4.5% here, in fact, if you don't actually own Bontempelli, if you're in that 4.5% and you're watching high, please comment below if you're in that percentage. That'd be really crazy. In that case, I probably would hope that Briggs has opened Pandora's box on Goldstein and Tim English can go well, but it is actually tough going out here. As weird as it sounds, I'd almost rather go Dunkley into Taranto knowing I'd get a probable low ton, but Dunkley into Serong or Brayshaw is probably still where I'd go. And I think I'd just favour Brayshaw with Serong having a bit of a niggle on his ankle. So if I didn't have Bontempelli, I think Dunkley into Brayshaw. So that should tick all the boxes. If we have a look here at... I don't want to see that anymore. I just want to see 3-round average. I want to know if I'm missing anyone. Sisley obviously on the bye and or suspended. Caleb Daniel I don't think is particularly captainable. I've spoken about Taranto. A few boys on the bye. Oliver on the bye. I think I've pretty much covered everyone. Look, it should be a quite straightforward round. I don't know how I've even gotten this out to be the length that it is, but Dunkley into Bontempelli is my strong recommendation. And if I miss again this week, then I think 95% of coaches are going to be in the exact same position as us. So good luck for this week, and I'm going to lock those choices in. That's going to do it for today's video. I don't know how I was able to waffle on for that long and stretch this video out. Was unintentional, just trying to cover all the bases for people who might not have a combination of players. Now, if I did miss anyone, if you've got someone in your team who you think should have been mentioned, please do question down below, comment down below, question down below, whichever you feel like doing. We do get to all the comments and questions down below, and all of the feedback is much appreciated as well. Now, thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, then you'll probably maybe enjoy some of our other content, or you could support us on our Patreon or on our merch store. I'm fumbling through the last few minutes of this, but we will see you at the next Dr. Supercoach appointment. Oh my God.